Welcome to This Week in Big Sky Basketball, sponsored by Jimmy John's. I'm your host, Denise Thompson. Big Sky Basketball reaches the halfway point of conference play this week, with teams neck and neck contending for the top seed. Our guests today include Montana State head coach Danny Sprinkle, Southern Utah senior guard Rebecca Cardenas, and Colter Nuanez of Skyline Sports. First, let's take a look at what's been happening in Big Sky men's basketball. Weber State handed Big Sky leader Montana its second loss in conference play Saturday with an 87-85 overtime win in Ogden behind 32 points from Jarek Harding. Despite the loss to the Wildcats, the Grizz remained in first place in the Big Sky standings with a 7-2 record, half a game in front of Eastern Washington. The Eagles survived a pair of overtime contests at home, defeating Southern Utah and Northern Colorado to sit at 6-2 in league play. The Bears and Thunderbirds sit one game back from Eastern Washington at 5-3. Northern Arizona continued to rack up the victories last week, taking down Portland State and Sacramento State at home to push its win streak to 4 games. The Lumberjacks are 5-4 in Big Sky play, alongside Montana State after the Bobcats defeated Weber State and Idaho State on the road last week. We're now joined by Montana State first-year head coach Danny Sprinkle. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. You're going to have to bear with me. I know I sound a little crazy. I've been a little under the weather and congested, but going to fight through it.
It's okay. I'm sure that Bozeman weather is getting to you.
Exactly.
So you became the Bobcats head coach back on April 4th. Talk about what it's been like for you returning to your alma mater, and then what have been some of your best memories so far on campus.
It's been awesome. It's been above anything I expected. I knew how special Bozeman and Montana State University are, and just the energy on campus right now with all the sports, and not just all the sports, but just everything that's going on campus with new buildings going up and the energy and atmosphere is, kind of at an all-time high. But it's been crazy. It's been nonstop since the day I got that job. There's literally, when they say there's no days off, there's been no days off. And, but it's been tremendous. The days that obviously I can remember is just kind of the first time walking back into that office. Walking out for the first game, back into Brick Breeden was special. And then just a couple of the wins, like the half quarter at Greensboro, and just seeing the excitement on the guys' faces and, how they just believed. Those have been the things that really stick in my mind right now.
Okay, so you spent the majority of your career in the Big West Conference. What are some of the similarities and differences that you've noticed between the two leagues?
Similarities, talent level is pretty similar. The biggest difference is obviously just locations. The Big West is all California and Hawaii. The best thing about the Big West is the travel. You're in a bus for a half hour and you're sleeping in your own bed pretty much every night, except for when you travel to UC Davis in Hawaii. Where in the Big Sky, travel's brutal. And the weather's a little bit colder in most of the Big Sky towns, but the atmospheres are better in the Big Sky. You go down to, Weber and Southern Utah, everywhere we go, like it's a college town and it's important. And I think that's what's special about the Big Sky.
That's great. So the parity in the Big Sky has greatly increased over the past few years. But what has it been like for you as a first-year head coach to come in and coach in this competitive league?
It's everything I expected. I knew how well coached the league was. I've known most of these coaches for a long time, and I've followed their path. So, like you said, the parity. Somebody told me a stat. It was like 70% of the games have been one-possession games so far in conference, which is incredible. And but I think it just shows how well coached teams are and how well scouted teams are. And, the talent level is pretty similar across the board. I think there is a couple teams that, that have more talent than others. I know there's teams that have more talent than we do, but, that's where you have to execute. Your game planning comes into play and just toughness.
Okay, so a unique thing about your squad this season is that you have 6 international players. What's the team dynamic like, and how has it been coaching so many players with different backgrounds?
It's been awesome, and I think it's critical for our guys, not just basketball wise, but just learning about different cultures and diversities. And it's something that they're gonna fall back on in 15, 20 years, and they're going to be so or German from Finn, or they might go visit them, when they're older over there. And we haven't had any trouble language barrier wise or anything. I mean, they're two of our smartest kids on our team, and they're both almost 4.0 students, and so super intelligent kids, but they're fun to be around. They have great energy, and even our Michael Paulo from Toronto, Jabril and Amon from London. They're fun to be around every day. And the thing I like the best about them is, how thankful they are for the experience to come to the United States and actually have an opportunity to play Division I basketball.
Coming off 2 key road wins last week against Weber State and Idaho State, you face Big Sky leader and rival Montana on Saturday in Missoula. What does your team need to execute well to come away with a W?
I mean, obviously they're at the top of the conference right now. We're going to have to play really, really well. We're going to have to defend and rebound at an extremely high level. We have to match their toughness. They're a tough physical team, and they have been for the last 30 years. And that's why they've been one of the top teams in the league every year. And, but we have to be us. And I tell our guys that all the time. It's not so much about the opponent. It's about us taking care of the ball, not turning the ball over. It's about defending and rebounding and making it tough, not giving up easy shots. And, if we do that, we have a chance, not only against Montana, but just anybody we play.
Coach, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today. Best of luck the rest of the season.
You bet. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
That's Montana State head coach Danny Sprinkle. We'll take a short break, then we'll be back with Southern Utah senior Rebecca Cardenas and discuss what's been going on in Big Sky women's basketball. That's all coming up when we return on This Week in Big Sky Basketball.
Dinner's great. It's one of your top 3 favorite meals. You just don't want to have to make it. Well, with Jimmy John's, you don't have to. Whether you live in a sandwich delivery zone or head into the store, you can always get a freaky fresh sandwich. Click to order at jimmyjohns.com.
Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I'm your host, Denise Thompson. The 2020 Big Sky Men's and Women's Basketball Championships presented by My Place Hotels are back in Boise, Idaho in March. Visit BigSkyInBoise.com to purchase tickets and get hotel information. The Big Sky Conference will take over Boise March 9th through the 14th, and we want to see you there. Now, let's take a look at what's happening in Big Sky women's basketball. Montana State and Idaho continue to slowly separate themselves from the rest of the conference. The Bobcats hold down the first spot in the conference with an 8-1 record with a half-a-game lead over the Vandals. The Bobcats are on a 4-game winning streak after sweeping Weber State and Idaho State this past weekend. Against conference opponents, the Bobcats are outscoring their opponents by an average of 17.2 points per game. The Vandals pushed their win streak to 5 games to improve to 7-1 after picking up wins against Northern Colorado and Southern Utah. Idaho is being led by last season's Big Sky Freshman of the Year, Gina Markson. Markson is ranked in the top 10 in the conference in scoring with an average of 13.1 points per game this season. Northern Arizona comes in at third in the conference standings at 6-3 and 2 games out of first place. The Lumberjacks had their 5-game win streak snapped by Portland State last week, but got back in the win column on Monday night with a 20-point victory over Sacramento State. With the conference schedule almost half over, the leading scorer continues to be Southern Utah senior Rebecca Cardenas. Cardenas leads the Big Sky with an average of 17.2 points per game. Cardenas is also third in the Big Sky in assists and second in steals. Joining us now on This Week in Big Sky Basketball is Southern Utah guard Rebecca Cardenas. How are you doing today, Rebecca?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I've been doing well. You've been having a really good senior season. What has it been like playing your final season in Cedar City?
I think it's been very exciting, something I never would have imagined doing. It really does go by pretty fast, so I think just enjoying every moment of it and just going out there and knowing it's my last season gives me that extra boost to do what I have to do to help us win. So
I can definitely hear that. So you are currently leading the conference in scoring this year, and you've been named the Player of the Week twice. What do you think has been the main contributing factor that's led to so much offensive success?
I think my staff, for sure. Tracy doing a good job of moving me to the 2 guard and giving me more opportunities, calling more plays for me and just trusting me with the ball in my hands. So I think a lot of it has to do with our coaching staff and the way they're running the team right now and just the shot selections that we're getting. So.
Last season, the Thunderbirds were able to pick up a first-round win in the conference tournament. How did that success carry over into your preparation for this year?
I think that win definitely, we didn't really have the season we wanted to my junior year, so I think that win definitely just gave us that extra boost of energy and really just showed, all the hard work we put in was finally going to play itself out. And just going into this season, we had that to go off of, hasn't been done in a few years in our program. So I think it's a good way for us to just build off of and expect more from the season.
When examining Southern Utah's roster, there's a lot of young talent. What has it been like being one of the leaders on and off the court this year, and how do you encourage and motivate your teammates to get the best out of them?
I think it's been pretty fun. It's always great to meet your freshmen and get to build connections with them. You don't have them for very long, so I think those connections are very special. But I think, just trying to teach them every moment you can, whenever you notice something that they're doing or, they make a mistake, just to reassure them that everything's okay. Everyone, makes mistakes. No one's perfect. So just trying to encourage them and keep them on board because they're a huge part of our success right now.
This is Tracy Sanders' second year at the Thunderbirds. What impact has she had on you as a player?
She's had a great impact on me. Like I said, she trusts me with the ball. She really trusts the offense and the defense to go through me. She trusts me as a captain. I think just having that helps me out because, one of the hardest things any player can tell you is just self-confidence. And I think I've worked on that the past couple of years. And just having a coach that believes in you and trusting you really helps with that a ton.
So your bio says that you lettered in track and field in high school. What was that like and what events did you compete in?
So I originally competed in the 400 meter and the 200 meter. I eventually then just went to the 400 meter, but it was just my senior year in high school, and I just decided why not, just to kind of stay in shape. It was probably the worst decision of my life. Track is very hard. And I have a lot of respect for all of our track and field athletes in the Big Sky and every other conference. So I think it was just out of the spur of the moment, and I just decided to do it, and I definitely regret it.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's Southern Utah senior guard Rebecca Cardenas. Thank you so much for joining us today, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll preview the week ahead in the Big Sky Conference. We'll also have a visit from Colter Nuanez of Skyline Sports. We'll also know where you can find Big Sky games on television this weekend. Stay with us. You're listening to This Week in Big Sky Basketball.
Need a hotel for work or just a night away? With over 50 hotels open and more on the way, we want to be your home away from home. My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel of the Big Sky Conference.
Welcome back to the final segment of this week's episode of This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I'm your host, Denise Thompson. The Big Sky Conference airs all of its live stream sporting events on Pluto TV for free, including up to 700 football, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, and selected soccer, softball, and track and field events. Watch online at www.plutotv or download the app. All Big Sky basketball games can be seen on Watch Big Sky and Pluto TV. In action this week, Northern Colorado and Southern Utah play host to Idaho State and Weber State. Portland State welcomes in Montana in the Vikings' lone game of the week before the Grizz host Montana State in the first Brawl of the Wild for 2020. Northern Arizona and Sacramento State host Idaho and Eastern Washington to round out the 10-game slate for the week. On the women's side, Weber State and Idaho State host Southern Utah and Northern Colorado, while Montana hosts Portland State and Montana State this week. Rounding out the action is Idaho and Eastern Washington, welcoming in Northern Arizona and Sacramento State. All right, it's time to welcome in Colter Nuanez of Skyline Sports. Colter, how are you today?
Very well. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's not too bad here in Farmington today.
Good. Well, it's not too cold in Montana either. It's lingering in the 40s somehow, some way. So we're not dying up here yet.
40 seems to be okay at this time of year.
No doubt.
So, Eastern Washington took down two of the Big Sky's top two teams last week in Southern Utah and Northern Colorado. The biggest hump for the Eagles has been Montana, falling to them by 27 3 weeks ago. What's the key for Eastern Washington to finally defeat the Grizz next week in Missoula?
Well, I think that Montana just sort of overwhelmed Eastern Washington in that game. I think that, Eastern had a pretty good non-conference record, and I think they had some pretty impressive stats, but they also had played a couple games that maybe helped inflate those stats. And I don't think that they had played really very many teams that brought the intensity that Montana brought that night in Eastern Washington. But I also think that there was a certain level of motivation for the Grizz. Yeah, but although Montana is the two-time defending Big Sky champs, both in the regular season and in the tournament, they had lost to Eastern in Cheney each of the last two times. And so I think this group really wanted to prove. I think they wanted to make a statement. And I also think that it was the game where a coaching emphasis really paid dividends. I mean, Travis DeCuire talked about how he had individual meetings with all of his guys after they lost the Northern Colorado game, and how he really thought that they had a chance to make a statement if everybody would just truly buy into their roles. And this Grizz team, they lost 5 outstanding seniors from last year, and so everybody's been kind of trying to feel their way out. And that was the first game that the new role definition really clicked. And so I think that just helped them kind of ambush. And I think in this league, the fact is that no one's going to go undefeated. And so I think that one of the most important parts about chasing the league title in this league is not necessarily the games you win, but how you respond to the games you lose. And so I think Montana took, I think they really learned from the Northern Colorado loss and took some, I think they called those role definition conversations to heart. And then I think Eastern Washington then has done the same thing. Since they lost to Montana, now they've gone out and posted a couple hard-nosed victories. You know, they won in decisive fashion in Bozeman. They had the Southern Utah win, and then they beat Northern Colorado in overtime last night. So sometimes you just need that wake-up call as a team, especially a team that's favored. And I think Eastern Washington did a great job of responding, especially over the weekend with the 2 great overtime wins. I think that puts them right back in position to chase that league title. They're alone in second place, and I think that they have the pieces to definitely be in the mix coming down the stretch.
Talking about good performances over the weekend, Jaron Harding posted back-to-back 30-point games, leading Weber State to a Big Sky win over Montana. Voted the Big Sky's preseason MVP. Do you see him carrying that out and earning the postseason honor as well?
Absolutely. I mean, he's finally healthy, and I think there's 2 factors with Jaron Harding. You know, he's been chasing pretty lofty records. I mean, he's in the conversation. I mean, every week the headline is, you know, he's about to pass Jeremy Sangley. He's about to pass Damian Lillard. And now he's about to pass Bruce Collins. And he's in the mix to become the all-time scorer in the history of the league. I'm not sure if he's going to quite get there because he did have some injury stuff earlier. But, you know, handling that pressure is a very unique thing. And I think he's done a great job of it. But the other thing is that he just wasn't healthy early. And I think that's been the whole story for Weber State. I mean, you look at their league schedule and their win over Montana. To me, even though they came into that game with only 1 league victory, it's not a surprise. It's not an upset. I think that it was absolutely. I mean, Weber State is Weber State. They're one of the premier programs in the Big Sky Conference, and their whole battle this whole year has just been injuries. They brought in some grad transfers. Some of those guys have been hurt, and so they haven't been able to find the chemistry and the cohesion that it takes to be a basketball, a cohesive basketball team. And they've also lost such close games so often, and so. I think that the breakthrough with the win over the Grizz is huge for their confidence. I also think Jaron Harding's big weekend is big for their confidence as well, and I expect him to carry it moving forward, certainly because he has been and continues to be one of the most talented players in the league.
Speaking of dominant performances, on the women's side, it appears to be a 2-team race between Montana State and Idaho. What is it that makes those 2 a tough opponent to play?
Well, for Montana State, it's the combination of veteran leadership. They have 5 seniors combined with really stellar freshmen and incredible depth. I mean, Trisha Binford is able to go consistently 9 deep, and when she needs to, she can even go to 10 and 11. The fact that on Saturday, for example, against Idaho State, Leolia Squires has scored 1,000 points in her career. She's been suffering with a little bit of an arch injury, but that's here nor there. They've been bringing her off the bench the last 2 weeks, and she's one of the great scorers in the league, but she's completely bought into that role. And they also have Blair Braxton coming off the bench. And Blair Braxton is somebody that has, over 500 career rebounds and over 100 career blocks. So she's on career leading lists for Montana State. And so to have a pair of veteran seniors that you can bring off the bench but also still play 25 minutes, it's just a testament to their depth. And then, you combine that with Fallon Friese, the Big Sky preseason player of the year. She's been great. And then you add into the mix Martha Cooter and Madeline Smith. And all 5 of those seniors are playing well. But then you also splice it in with who I think is the most talented freshman in the league, in Darian White. For anybody that's listening to this interview, anybody that has followed the Big Sky for a long time, Trisha Binford's first great point guard that she was able to bring in and develop was a girl named Erica Perry. And to me, Darian White is the second coming of Erica Perry. They are so similar in their confidence, their ball handling ability, their ability to get in and out of defenses and presses and break presses, the confidence level, the hard-nosed toughness that they play with. I've been incredibly impressed with Darian White. Her scoring numbers are not maybe what Montana State wants them to be, but her control of the tempo of the game is second to none. She's already established herself as an excellent point guard in this league. And I think that as far as Idaho goes, I think the transition we've seen at Idaho has been seamless, but to me, that's what makes it so impressive. Idaho, the last couple of years, has been based so much on the perimeter and so much on skill, and they've run so many awesome and creative screen actions. And I think that John Newley is one of the most creative and one of the most innovative coaches in all of college basketball. I think all the screen actions and stuff that they used to get Michaela Ferenz and Taylor Pierce open these last couple of years were awesome. And honestly, they were on the cutting edge for women's basketball. But they've completely seamlessly transitioned to being a completely different style of team now this year. Without Taylor Pierce and Michaela Ferenz in the fold, now they've been playing hard-nosed games, defensive games, and trying to get it down to the last couple of possessions and then beat people. And I think that they have an added element of toughness with the continued maturation of the Klinker sisters. They have a great player in Gina Markson who's taken the next step after being the freshman of the year in the league last year. So I think that, Idaho, it's never a surprise to me when John Newley has a competitive team. It's never a surprise to me when John Newley's teams can reinvent themselves, because he's been doing it for 20 years, and he's done it at both Idaho State and Idaho. So to me, it's not surprising the Vandals are in the mix, but I think it's cool for the conference because it just shows you how much, the solidification of an identity of a program, how important that is, because you have Newley, who's been at Idaho for 12 or 13 years, and you have Trisha Binford, who's been at Montana State for 15 years. That stability is paying off, and I think that's why you see those two teams atop the league standings.
You just mentioned a little bit about stability. We're talking about Montana State and Idaho, and then let's go to the other end of the spectrum, and we talked about this team a little bit last week, but what Lori Payne is doing in Flagstaff with her Northern Arizona Lumberjacks. What is it that Payne and her girls are doing that has seen that just impressing you so far this season?
Well, the thing that I've noticed about Coach Payne, the moment she took the job, and as someone that has resided in Montana for most of my life and followed anybody from Montana, I had an even more keen interest in Lori Payne because she has such Montana roots, being from Havre, and she's one of the greatest female athletes to come out of the state of Montana. Went on to play at University of Washington, where she was outstanding. But the thing you noticed right away with Coach Payne was how hard she got her team to play. And even when the results weren't there, they continued to play hard. And now that they've turned the corner a little bit, they still play with that same effort and that same chip on their shoulder, but they also now are starting to learn how to win. And I think that it comes from confidence. And she's such a positive coach. She engenders her team with so much confidence. And I think that that's just so directly reflected in their performance. And I think that they have been the surprise of the league from a broad level. But then I also think if you know her background and you know her basketball acumen, it's not a surprise. I'm not surprised that she has a role in there. But the fact that they're 6-3 in league, coming off of a really impressive win over Sacramento State, they're going to be in the mix, certainly, when it comes to Boise. So it's been fun to watch Lori do such good work because they've incrementally improved each month of the season since she first took that job. And I think that her coaching style is very appealing. She has great poise on the sideline. And so I think that to see those results come to fruition, it's been cool. It's a good story in the Big Sky right now.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show today, Colter. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week.
Can't wait. See you guys soon.
Special thanks to our guests today, Montana State head coach Danny Sprinkle, Southern Utah senior guard Rebecca Cardenas, and Skyline Sports Colter Nuanez. Until next week, I'm Denise Thompson saying enjoy this week in Big Sky basketball.